Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
What if Godzilla attacked South Park? As part of our primarily political series, we're going to be asking that question and many more today on Systematic Geekology. We are the Priest of the Geeks. I'm your host, Christian Ashley, joined by two incredibly handsome men. You know him, you love him. He's here to guest once more, former host, Nick Polk. How's it going, Nick?
I'm so good, Christian. Glad to talk two of my favorite things, South Park and Godzilla. It's going to be a great time.
Excellent. We are also joined, as you can plainly see, if you're on YouTube, or maybe you can just sense his presence if you're just listening to the podcast proper. The one, the only, the original Kaiju, TJ Blackwell. How's it going, TJ?
It's going. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
As enthusiastic as ever. So, guys, since this is part of our primarily political series, instead of our regular geeking out question, we're going to be asking two sets of questions. The first being, who is a bad political actor, real or fictional, we want to discuss? An actor being acting in politics in some way, shape, or form.
I'm going to say Kevin Spacey, Black Ops 2. From the campaign of Black Ops 2. I don't remember what his name was in Black Ops 2, but it was just like straight up Kevin Spacey. They just put him in the game. Horrible politician. Terrible fraud. Terrible villain. But it was cool to have Kevin Spacey just in the game.
It's so niche because mine was also going to be Kevin Spacey, but it was going to be for House of Cards. You picked
terrible politician, Kevin Spacey.
Terrible person in real life as well. So, just keeping it consistent.
Yeah, they were just trying to warn us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will not be talking about Kevin Spacey because even in the dub, he's not voiced by Kevin Spacey. But for Speedgrapher, which is an anime, there is a man known as Choji Suitingu who is using the powers of a 15-year-old girl for his own machinations. And of course, there's some very creepy undertones to some of his stuff there. Don't really like him. Very nasty guy. Really great when he dies. Spoilers, but who cares? He deserves it. So that's that. Gentlemen, we came here today for the greatest American pastime of all time. And that is speculating on how a Japanese monster would attack the all-American town of South Park, Colorado. So, guys, what is our history with Godzilla? And we'll start there. What's our history with Godzilla?
You could start.
Okay. You know what? I can. I grew up with Godzilla from a very early age. My dad raised me right. I was watching the films when I was just a wee little lad. I remember one of my best Christmas gifts I ever got was I got my own little posable Godzilla figure. I was like 6 or 7, and that sucker is still alive to this day in the house. So, yeah, I've watched Godzilla ever since then. I think I've seen everything that has come out film-wise and TV-wise. So there's that.
That's pretty cool. I don't have as deep of a history with Godzilla. I think I've talked about my Nana owned a video rental store back in the late 80s, early 90s. Ended up selling it, keeping a bunch of the movies. And so, I watched a lot of the older ones. And I don't exactly know the timeline, but I've seen, Godzilla versus Ghidorah versus Mechagodzilla, Baby Godzilla and Godzilla doing their thing. The one from the 90s. I've seen the 2014 one, and everything up to now, I think. And then I had, when I was growing up, I had all the like old school Godzilla plastic toys, and play with them in the bathtub and things like that.
Oh yeah, nice. TJ, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla has always been around. I'm 25. So like Godzilla's just on TV sometimes. People are just watching at their house. But the first real memory I have is I was at my cousin's house, and in the DVD player already, when I went upstairs to waste time, was Godzilla. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what it's called. Total War.
Oh, Final Wars.
Final Wars was in the DVD player. So I was like, oh, I'll watch this. And then I was like, okay, Godzilla's awesome. I need to watch the rest of these. And so since then, I've done my best to keep up. I had to wait a long time to watch Godzilla -1, though, because I just kind of missed it in the theater. But try to stay current. I love Godzilla. Kaiju, super fun, always. So I've just been a fan in passing for most of my life, and then I got a lot more into it kind of recently. For a lot, like 5-ish years.
Did they have a Final Wars video game, don't they? Did they have like a combat based on the Final Wars, right?
Yeah.
Where you can play and fight like in the city.
I think so.
The Godzilla fighting game. It's super broken. It's gross.
Have not played it since probably it came out.
It's really fun.
Wow.
Really broken. Really unfair.
Well, that's our history with Godzilla. How about South Park?
It's pretty much the same for me. South Park, we didn't really have cable at home when I was growing up, except for a couple of years. And South Park, if it was on, I would watch it. But I got really, really into The Stick of Truth.
Oh, yeah.
And since
Amazing
then,
game.
I was like, okay, yeah, South Park's pretty. South Park is Kino. I'll watch South Park episodes every now and then. I'm not like a super fan, like some of us on the show, but, I am a fan of South Park. I love South Park. And The Fractured Butthole, equally good. Snow Day was all right.
I still need to play
Nick?
Snow Day. Still need to play it. Because I am a super fan here. Just early on. So South Park came out a couple years before I was in kindergarten, and I, of course, my parents being good parents by not letting a 3-year-old watch South Park. When I was 5, I went to a friend's house. I don't even remember, in quotation marks. I don't know. I don't even remember this friend's name. I'm pretty sure I went once, and my parents didn't let me because he had all the rated M N64 games, Mortal Kombat, Turok, and of course the South Park games. And so we played the South Park games, and I had this intuition that I remember where I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be playing this. And
Turok was great.
I don't. So I remember watching it, and I thought it was hilarious because I was throwing pea snowballs at alien turkeys or whatever. And from that point on, it just came. Every time it came on TV, I would sneak it periodically. And then in college, I really did a deep dive into it and have been a huge fan since.
Yeah, it's really easy show to sneak episodes of because they're short.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those. When I was in high school, I knew it existed, but I was also in that fairly conservative environment at home, and a show like this that challenged things, not many people appreciated it, and I was one of those people at one point in time, and eventually it just came to the point where what, I'll give it a shot. And I don't remember what my first episode was. It would have been around 2005, 2006, somewhere in one of those seasons. But I was laughing. I was having fun. I was realizing, it's okay to make fun of other people when you're also being made fun of. When we get to our one of our favorite episodes, which doesn't have to be our favorite episode, I'm the target. I'm the butt of the joke for the vast majority of that episode. I'm the target demographic for what they're talking about. So I really appreciate that as someone who had to learn, hey, if you're going to make fun of other people, you need to learn to have a sense of humor about yourself. South Park is a good metric of doing that because they make fun of everyone.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that happen in South Park, what would be an example of just our general taste? What's one of your favorite episodes of South Park?
I can go. It is the return of the Fellowship of the Ring to the Two Towers.
Let's go.
So good. So good. Instant classic. Every time I do see it, just like playing somewhere, I will stop and watch the whole thing. It's amazing. It's so good.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, love
That's
that
a great
episode.
one. Nick?
Oh yeah, it's so hard. Anything with Cartman and Butters is going to be something I watch in its entirety. I think my favorite in general, is the Imagination Land 3-part episode.
Ooh.
It's just like epic. It's like they took South Park to the next level. Mel Gibson makes a return, and he is crazy in it, as he always is. But I think one of my favorite episodes is, I can't remember the title, but it's when Cartman tries to be a NASCAR driver, and he gets
Poor and stupid, I think.
yeah, and get drunk and turn hard to the left sometimes. And Butter keeps lending him money, and it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, great picks. I don't think this is my favorite, but it's the first one that came to mind when I was writing this question, and it's Christian Rock Hard. And this is the episode where they lampoon Christian music of all different types and flavors. As someone who back in the day used to exclusively listen to Christian music, I am the butt of the joke of this episode for my musical tastes at that time. I still listen to Christian music, but it's not the only thing I listen to. I have moved on. I have grown as a person. But the way Cartman just realizes, hey, what's the easiest way to make money? You fool with the Christians. You make them think you're on their side, and you replace the word baby with Jesus.
That's right. We really should just have a systematic geekology band if we want to make money.
Right?
That's accurate.
So, this was just one of those things I needed to hear this episode just to have myself be made fun of and just laugh along with the jokes. I really appreciate what they're doing here. You guys have anything else you want to add before we move to Godzilla?
And
Our favorites for there.
And we lock Creed in the closet to steal their glory, which is, pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, guys, that was one of our favorite South Park episodes. How about one of our favorite Godzilla movies?
This one's hard. Technically there are less Godzilla movies than South Park episodes, but it really doesn't feel that way.
Yes.
But for me, it's hard to decide. I've got like Final Wars. Final Wars is up there. Godzilla Earth, the Netflix animated movies. I really love those. Those are really good. Shin Godzilla is the one that is giving me pause because it's really hard not to say Shin Godzilla. So I think I just will.
Okay. Nick.
Yeah, Shin Godzilla is great. Just because I have not done any recent watch throughs of any of the movies pre 2014, probably the consistent favorite is Godzilla -1. I've watched it like 3 times. It's just something. The story behind it draws me in. The homage to the old Godzilla is just really well done. It's a good one. I love it.
Yeah, I think what it is for me is I'm a big fan of the schlockier kind of that style of Godzilla, which is why I still think most of the American Godzillas are pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I liked it too. I like the
flavors of
New
Godzilla.
Empire. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dick.
I liked Shin Godzilla. That kind of sparked my interest probably back into Godzilla because my sister had it, and I didn't really know any of the original vision of Godzilla and just kind of the tie-ins there, and Godzilla, especially at the end, too, the ending of Shin Godzilla is just so great and creepy and weird, and so good.
Shin Godzilla is definitely the scariest one to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This is what I imagine watching the original Godzilla was really like.
Yeah, back in the day when we don't have the cultural baggage of, he gets a little goofy later on and, does some, kiddier things because their films geared towards children. Yeah, I can't imagine being in the theater seeing 1954 Godzilla for the first time. And yeah, you may have seen King Kong or something like that, but that doesn't prepare you for this. But if you're on YouTube, you can see I picked Destroy All Monsters. This, if you know anything about me, I love crossovers. I love team up issues. So Marvel Team Up is my favorite comic book series of all time, not because of its quality, but because of the fact Spider-Man and another superhero join forces and beat up on a bad guy. And here we have every monster from Toho beating up on King Ghidorah. I know it's Ghidorah. I don't care. And I love this film with every fiber of my being. That's why I also love Final Wars. But if I'm like seriously thinking about what's like the best Godzilla has to offer, it's really hard not to say -1. With the episode we did on that one is one of our most popular we've ever done, and for good reason. Not because we were there, but because we're talking about a very good movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, go ahead.
I was just agreeing.
Okay. So this is not the first time we're doing this what if episode. What if Godzilla attacked South Park? Well, I don't know if Joshua knew this, because I don't know if Joshua's ever watched South Park in his life when he made this episode in the first place. But this has happened before. Godzilla has appeared. So can you two discuss how kaiju have already been explored in South Park?
I will say, since we brought him up, Josh absolutely does love South Park. He just has a bad memory.
Good.
Josh watches South Park all the time. Also, Nick, he said good night. He loves you.
Aw,
he texted
how
me
sweet.
What a guy.
What a guy. But yeah, no, I'll let Nick take this over, because I am the more casual South Park watcher.
The first introduction we get to Godzilla or kaiju in general is the 12th episode of season 1 of South Park, and the boys of South Park, Cartman, Kenny, Kyle, and Stan, are on a field trip digging up arrowheads, and all of a sudden they come across the Triangle of Xanthon, I think is what it's called. And Barbra Streisand shows up because it's a very, very important artifact. She has the other triangle, and if she gets the Triangle of Xanthon, she puts them together. It forms the diamond of, it starts with the P, I have no idea, something made up, and she becomes Mecha Streisand. And she starts destroying the town, and Sidney Poitier comes in and turns into what's the giant turtle monster's name that's a competitor to Godzilla? Gamera. We've got some famous critic from back in the day that doesn't matter. He is Ultraman, and then Robert Smith saves the day by turning into like a mechanic Mothra and destroys Barbra Streisand by throwing her into space, and she explodes.
Yeah, I love Mecha Streisand because it's not like giant Mecha Streisand. It's Mecha Godzilla in a wig.
It's so accurate.
It's so lazy, but it's so funny.
It's so dumb. It's like Mecha Streisand. Oh, that's Mecha Godzilla. That's just Mecha Godzilla.
Oh yeah. So before we actually get into the episode proper, there are going to be some listeners out there who'd be like, "Why are you, as Christians, watching a show like South Park, like especially a vulgar one like this one? Why are we doing that?"
Funny.
Great answer. I'll piggyback off of TJ's funny here, and okay. People who are Christians, we read the Bible. The Bible has just about everything offensive that's in South Park. Is it done in the same way? Of course not. But we have swearing, we have violence, we have sex, we have humor, right? We have even ironic humor that makes fun of like people from the chosen people of God, both Hebrew and Christians later, that are done in a mean-spirited way. And it's not the humor, or even some of the things that maybe weren't humorous but were ironic statements, were used to challenge things, social norms, to make way for the kingdom of God. And I would say that also South Park is not doing that, but looking at things like this and saying, what is someone like South Park or something like South Park or other comedy or things, what norms are they subverting, and things that we need, and challenge us to think about, to renew our ability to observe things in culture and interpret them.
Like,
beautiful.
We live in part of the world. Yeah, we live in the world. Yeah, there's a difference, being separated from the world, but also being a part of the world. And South Park is part of the world. But they've also noticed we're a part of the world because, as stated earlier, they make fun of everyone because they see that there is no such thing as someone who is above being made fun of. And most of the time, I think they make fun of other people really well. And I think they make fun of us really well, of very different denominations. And most of the time, you're probably going to see Catholics being made fun of for the most part, especially earlier seasons. But Protestants get thrown into the mix,
Mormons
as well. And Mormons get thrown in there. Yeah, it's not really Christians, but that's a different argument for another day. But they show reverence in certain ways because to make fun of something, you have to understand it if you actually want it to be funny. So it's not like they just, said, well, Christianity, what's that about? And all Christianity is Catholicism. No, they make fun of aspects of what they know of Catholicism, what they know of Protestantism, what they know of Mormonism, and then build off of those things and say, hey, it's kind of ridiculous, some of these things you say from a worldly perspective. And yeah, it is ridiculous from a worldly perspective that I eat, and drink of the blood and flesh of my Savior every now and then at church, depending on how you interpret that being literal or metaphysical. But that's something to be made fun of from a culture that doesn't understand what we're doing, what we're about. And it's not mean-spirited. If it was extremely mean-spirited, I'd have way more of an issue about it. But it's more of a sense of no one is above being made fun of. No one is above reproach. And it's made funnier and also terrible in that Christians sometimes say and do stupid things that they mock, which Christians shouldn't be saying or doing. So that's a call that we are supposed to do as Christians anyway, to call out evil. That's what they're doing sometimes. So I can get behind that.
Hello, friends. If you enjoy systematic ecology, a great way to support us and to keep us moving forward into the future is to be a patron on our Patreon network. If you're a Patreon, then you get live access to our YouTube exclusives like Comic Book Ketchup and Manga Mustard, Drinks with Tejas, and also some extra content there with our companion series to go along with our annual theme. If you're a patron, you get exclusive merch like t-shirts and handbags and mugs. There's also a bonus extra question that has extra content. In each episode, we go deeper into our faith and the questions that we're wrestling with, but we also do this extra question to jump in and share about, and patrons get to hear how we answer that question. There's discounts on our store. You get access to any future online D&D campaigns. You can easily access all of our Patreon content through our Spotify page where it says exclusive content for subscribers. That could be you folks. And all that being said, you get the satisfaction that you help us keep the lights on and keep us moving forward with our software, our marketing, our equipment, staying current in the podcast game. We love systematic ecology. We hope you do too. Support us moving forward. Thank you for all that you are. We know there's a lot of great choices and content out there, and you choose to listen to systematic ecology. Thanks, folks. We love you. Peace.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. And, as I'm a Wesleyan. And so Wesley believed that anything in the world could be a means of God's grace. And so I think that for very similar reasons, that because even though the world is fallen, we all carry the image of God in us, right? And so things that are accidental, not meant to be enlightening, can be. And I think South Park can be that. And like you said, when South Park makes fun of everyone, for the most part, they do their homework and they get real specific, where it's faith plus one, absolutely relatable. You watch Cartman become a televangelist and a mega church pastor, absolutely relatable, right? It's just funny and good. And critiquing those negative aspects of those very specific niches of Christian culture.
All right. So what do you say we make a South Park episode today, gentlemen?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to say Godzilla once more is attacking South Park. So which version of Godzilla are we going to deal with here for this question? There are different multiple alternate realities and stuff like that. That it doesn't have to be the image I selected. Like, which Godzilla should be a part of this episode we're making?
So I think it's important that we pick the right Godzilla. Because if we pick the wrong Godzilla, it's just not happening, right? They're not beating Godzilla Earth. They're not beating Space Godzilla. They're probably not beating Shin Godzilla, right? So I think, going with Toho Godzilla like they did in Mecha Streisand is a good idea. But is it too boring?
So to keep the continuity of previous episodes. What do you think?
It's South Park. They could bring in legendary Godzilla.
They could. I think it also kind of depends on what kind of episode we want to make here. What are they making fun of? We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because I forgot that Tahoe Godzilla, he shows up later, and I can't even really remember. I watched the Mecha Streisand episodes, but I'm thinking about which Godzilla is an evil or like angry villain, and then which one is just like a little guy who's been, atomically experimented on and is just trying to make his way through the world as a, type of animal or something. And I'm trying to think because if we get Shin Godzilla, there's going to be some battles between Barbs or, Mecha Streisand for sure. But ultimately, they're going to destroy things without regard for each other. And so, and can Robert Smith, take on both of them? I don't know. Or
I don't think so.
Or are we going to have a Godzilla that is going to fight like as a hero against the villain Mecha Streisand, or even Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, Man Bear Pig.
He's been there.
Oh, Man Bear Pig is a great example.
Oh yeah. I mean, because answer one of your questions, Nick, and there are multiple different continuities we could pull from here where Godzilla is just out and out a villain. There is, Godzilla, Mothra, and Ghidorah. There's some of the subtitle I'm forgetting about, but Godzilla is essentially possessed by the spirits of the Japanese soldiers who died in World War II and are angry that they died for an unrighteous cause, and he's laying waste to Japan. That's kind of like why he exists. All Monsters Attack or something like that. I have to look it up again. You have the original Godzilla, who is kind of spiteful in how he's just murdering people. Yeah, he was experimented on with unknowingly with the atomic bomb. But there's a little more malice in him compared to the legendary Godzilla, who also got hit by an atomic bomb, but is actually a force of nature himself and is actively trying to preserve the planet. So, what do you guys think?
It's hard to say. It's hard to know which Godzilla they would choose.
I think we can actually narrow this down if we know why is Godzilla attacking South Park in this episode? Maybe that will reveal which one we should use.
All right, so that's a good reason. Godzilla obviously knows that someone in South Park is killing the planet. All right.
So we're going to use the legendary version.
Cartman is destroying the planet.
Okay.
Somehow. In one of his schemes. Cartman is genuinely poisoning the earth. Colorado, specifically. So let's go legendary Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah. Without Shima, because I don't know what their relationship's going to be going forward. If like Shima and King Kong and Godzilla are just going to be hanging out. No, just Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to lean on. I think that's a great premise where it has to be against Cartman, doing something heinous. Because at the end of the day, in South Park, if something is going wrong, whether just in the hallways of the classroom or of school, or taking hold of Cthulhu to kill Justin Bieber and take over the world, he manipulates Cthulhu and Cthulhu gets even. So I think that's right, but I'm going to rely on y'all to pick the right Godzilla for that.
Okay. Yeah. That actually brings up an interesting question as well. Does Cthulhu make an appearance in this episode? Because Cartman has tamed him before.
Yeah.
Would he be able to do that to legendary Godzilla?
I don't know. But so what he's doing, right? Cartman realized that he could take money from big, companies that produce waste and just let them pay him, and he allows them to just dump the waste in South Park.
Ooh. So does this mean other people, is it nuclear waste? Are we going to have other people become kaiju?
All kinds of nuclear waste.
Ooh.
This
what Godzilla's responding to?
This might become almost a destroy all monsters scenario, but in legendary pictures.
Okay. And if there's an actual portal open to Imagination Land, I mean the amount of monsters that are able to come out of Imagination Land, boosted with nuclear waste, pretty high potential.
Yeah.
The Christmas critters against Godzilla. No. I need it. I need it.
So I think we need a South Park movie.
Okay, yeah, this has to be at least a 3-part special now that we're constructing this. Matt and Trey reach out to us later on. We'll do this pro bono.
No, we won't.
Okay, I'm liking it.
Yeah, if we're being consulted for South Park, we're taking every penny we can.
I'm taking the check.
They are crazy rich.
You know what? That's fair. If they can buy Casa Bonita and restructure it and actually pay their employees well, I think they have a little money they can throw our way for this one.
No doubt.
$10 at least.
Okay. All right. So we've established Cartman is one of the reasons why Godzilla is attacking the city of South Park. But what are the other 3 boys? How are they handling this scenario?
So they don't know, right? They have no idea that Cartman is, making money off of all these companies dumping their waste behind the school. They have no idea. So to them, Godzilla is just attacking them for no reason. And they can't even tell that it's just Cartman because they're always together. And at night, when Cartman's alone at home, Godzilla's sleeping. Because it's South Park. He's asleep. He's got to sleep.
But Kyle's always the one who foils Cartman's plan. Like you said, eventually Kyle's going to get wise to
Kyle figures it out.
Yeah, he's going to figure it out. And he's going to be like, You've been dumping waste and making money, and you're the reason why this is happening. And of course, Cartman's going to be like, shut up, screw you guys.
Yeah, Kyle is going to go deaf and make the connection, a connection like the little girl has in the New Empire with King Kong, but with Godzilla.
Ooh.
And Godzilla's gonna, tell Kyle, like, that fat kid, he's destroying the planet.
Okay. Now, is this a result of Kyle's psychic powers that he actually does have in an earlier episode with the fake psychics, detectives and everything, or is this because of the nuclear waste?
A little bit of both. The nuclear waste just allows him to connect to Godzilla.
Yeah, because at the end of that psychic episode, he blows up the lights in the hospital room, but he hasn't used it since then. Maybe it's been dormant this whole time, and the nuclear waste is what brings it back. And Cartman holds it over his head. You wouldn't have had this without me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's good.
This is not a bad episode. Man, I'm trying to what cameos can we bring? I'm trying to think. Mint Berry Crunch. I feel like he should make a comeback. And come in and
it's been a while.
He'll come in and hit him with a little Shabla goo.
Yeah, I'd say definitely Robert Smith comes back.
Yeah.
And just gets one shot by Godzilla this time.
I agree.
Just get him out of there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are our side characters doing here? How does Randy try and take, advantage of the situation? How does Mr. Garrison react to this? What do you guys think? Who should we involve from the side characters?
Chef.
Oh, bring back Chef, eh?
Bring back Chef.
Ooh. Is it Darth Chef or is it actual Chef?
Actual Chef.
Okay.
But, raised from the dead by the nuclear waste.
Ooh.
And
so does it mean, are we going to have the Super Adventure team or whatever the heck they call themselves?
Oh, the super best friend?
Secondary antagonists? No. They could show up too. But I'm talking about the Super Adventure Club, the fruity club that made Chef turn evil.
I forgot about that.
Do they try and take advantage of the situation somehow?
I like it. I wonder if that's how they got connected. That is Cartman's connection, is that the nuclear waste he's been dumping has been specifically for the Super Adventure Club or whatever, Explorers Club. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so you brought up the super best friends too. Are they able to make an appearance? Will we finally have Muhammad showing up again, or is he just going to be blurred out once more?
Man, I don't know, because the super best friends can't even take on Mecha Streisand. They're powerless. Jesus' halo, which is used as a magic disc, does nothing, and Joseph Smith's ice breath does nothing as well.
And Jesus' super ability to come back to life and his carpentry, will they have any impact on this fight? I don't really think so.
Oh, I guess do they leave us? Which it wouldn't work for Godzilla because they use Neil Diamond because Barbra Streisand can't resist doing duets with Neil Diamond.
Right.
Yeah, they can't do anything against Godzilla.
So let's think.
Yeah, we're gonna see. Yeah, who's going to be able to actually solve this problem? Is it going to be Kyle working alongside Godzilla that is able to get rid of the nuclear waste?
Oh, I'm so glad
and also,
you
how is
asked.
Cartman going to get out of this scot free? Okay, yeah, okay, yes. That was another question I was going to ask. How does Kenny die? So go ahead.
This is also not only Cartman wins in this episode. I hate to break it to you. Cartman wins. Godzilla dies because they turn Kenny into the oxygen destroyer. They just use Kenny as a basis for the oxygen destroyer, and they just throw Kenny into Godzilla's mouth.
So maybe Kyle has figured out that Godzilla is actually the good guy here, but Stan and Kenny are still working with Cartman to try and keep him alive. And Cartman's plan involves him turning into the oxygen destroyer, which kills off the Godzilla.
Yeah, because they don't
evil. That's
to them, they're still dealing with gods. Like Cartman might be a bad guy, but that's a giant monster.
But at least Cartman's their friend.
Yeah, they know Cartman.
And like towards the end, Kyle, they're gonna be like, well, that's thank God that's over, and then of course like another batch of waste comes and dumps, and someone passes Cartman, like $1 million, and Kyle's like, did you turn Kenny into an oxygen destroyer just to make $1 million? He's like, of course I did.
I mean, he passed legislation just so he could get his what was it when Kenny was brain dead? What did he want from it? His PSP? Was that what it was?
It was his PSP.
That's valid.
I mean, if he do that for the senatorial Congress and everything just to get a PSP, imagine what he would do for $1 million. Yeah.
It's a lot of PSPs for $1 million.
It's true.
You get a PS Vita for $1 million.
Ooh, PS Vita's rock, dude.
All right. So we've got our core four boys. We've got our side characters. Do we have an actual celebrity appearance other than Robert Smith showing up, or maybe even Barbra Streisand herself?
I think Bryan Cranston would be super funny.
Yes.
Okay. So actually have him play a role this time, or to have his death be as meaningless as it was in the film?
Meaningless death. Bryan Cranston does not help. He just dies.
Perfect.
I also would love to see like a brief Matthew Broderick appearance as well, and he also dies immediately. Like I would love Bryan Cranston to be like very integral to the scene, like to the episode, and he has a meaningless death, and then all of a sudden Matthew Broderick shows up, and then he immediately dies.
Okay. I'm liking this. So at the end of the day, Cartman has won. The nuclear waste is still there. Where maybe that's part of the rest of the season if we're doing the episodic structure like they've done in a couple of past seasons. But yeah, I think we've got our episodes, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. We've got a solid we got a solid A plot for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've got to find maybe Randy's doing something, trying to like market his marijuana. Maybe there's some properties the nuclear waste gives it. That could be our B plot.
Yes, I love that. I love that idea.
He's using Godzilla's waste as fertilizer.
Oh, that's
and
so
that improves the growth of the crop. Yeah.
So he's trying to keep Godzilla alive
and stands in the middle because Cartman and Randy keep getting in conflict. So Stan, of course, is just in the middle. He doesn't know what to do.
Does this mean Randy ends up teaming up with the Super Adventure Club, knowing who they are and what they've done to Chef?
Yes, that is such a Randy move.
You can make a profit.
100% Randy would do that.
I like this a lot. Trey and Matt, please. I know you listen to Systematic Ecology. We're number one in your feeds every morning. Head our way. We've got an episode for you, an episode batch for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would be worth it for this to be pro bono just so I can watch it, actually, now that I think about it.
We need to see it animated.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so now that we've constructed our episode, let's get a little more political about this. Is nuclear energy the way to go for obtaining our energy right now, compared to like a regular electrical system, coal, windmills, anything like that? Is nuclear energy the superior option?
I think so. Do we want to talk about it for real?
Tell us, TJ.
So thorium, right? So the reason most not even. The reason we use uranium for nuclear waste, for nuclear production, power production, is because of the waste, the byproduct, the depleted uranium. We use that to make weapons, right? That's why we use uranium. But thorium, also radioactive, much more energy efficient than uranium, is more productive and creates I don't remember the exact amount of less waste, but I think it's like 1/10 of the waste of uranium, which is already like there's not much waste involved. If you're not aware of how a nuclear power plant actually works, it's literally just a radioactive isotope heating up water, and the steam that is created is what generates the energy. Everything is a steam engine. Society has not progressed for the past 400 years. Normal stuff. But I absolutely think thorium reactors are the way to go in the future. Thorium is also a lot more stable and requires cooling less than uranium. But we don't use it because no bombs.
Yeah.
Nick?
I agree with that. I think there's just still such like a anti-nuclear scare from the 80s, that still lingers in the United States because the 80s really was not that long ago. And
and then like
3 Mile Island, Chernobyl.
Exactly.
3 Mile Island was a government plot to make the public distrust nuclear energy.
All right. There's our conspiracy theory for the day.
Yeah. And because I'm also somebody who thinks the move to electric it still creates the same problems because we're going to need a lot more coal and fossil fuels to burn for like these for electric vehicles charging and things like that. Connecting that to like Godzilla is such a early post World War II Japanese monster connected to the atom bomb, of course, right, and nuclear energy. But I wonder if Godzilla could represent, for me, it would be fossil fuel would probably be a better, whatever that looks like. You know what I mean? Yeah, as a prime base for representing as like a villain.
Yeah. I feel like Godzilla really what he's exemplifying is the human gluttony in a sense.
Yeah, totally.
Not the traditional sense of eat lots of food, but
avarice.
Avarice.
Yeah. Greed and gluttony kind of tied together in that sense. Yeah, I agree with my co-host here. Like, I am not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination beyond, like, I know some scientific terms. I've studied a little bit, but I am not a nuclear physicist. I don't know how nuclear power plants work, but from what little I do know and understand, it seems way more effective. It seems like there's not as much of waste. We're not dealing with, the sky being polluted as much by the byproducts of what we have to do in order to get stuff done as we are in our current system. So I'm all for it. And I understand that if a nuclear power plant were to explode, that would cause devastation. I mean, there's a reason we don't want to repeat the mistakes of 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, so on and so forth, Fukushima as well in Japan. But just make sure things are running smoothly. Make sure we have people who triple check behind other people to make sure that we're getting what we're supposed to and there's no fault in the system. And yeah, no system is perfect because we're flawed human beings, but I'd prefer that as a healthier output for energy than our current system. So get the ball running.
Yep. You're here. I think part of the problem we also deal with is that power delivery is expensive. So nuclear reactors tend to get built close to cities. So to cut costs.
Right.
I think we just need to get over that.
Well, to go over something Nick and TJ both kind of brought up, it's like the original intent of Godzilla for the 1954 film was to show in a personified form the horrors of the atomic bombs that landed on Nagasaki and Hiroshima through using a kaiju as that metaphor. Like, do you think that still works today for Godzilla to be the like unbridled power of atomic energy as a threat to the world?
I feel like we, as a society, have kind of lost that because no one's been nuked since then.
And thank God.
Yeah, which is good. Which is probably because of Godzilla. So maybe it is still an effective metaphor.
Yeah, I don't know if it's great for like maybe an atomic bomb. I mean, especially just because tensions globally are just really heightened. I mean, they don't stop being heightened. There's been 72 years in human history, documented human history, where there wasn't war. But especially in the post-nuclear,
that's documented.
Yeah, exactly. The post-nuclear age. it's still a threat. And I think even too, I'm reading a book right now called Hyper Objects by a guy called Timothy Moore, and he's a eco-philosopher. And he talks about how like these things like global warming, or they don't have to necessarily be bad, but like the Big Bang or the galaxy, we can't physically observe global warming, right? But it's around us, we can measure its effects. And obviously Godzilla, you can see this personified monster. But I think Godzilla can serve as like a metaphor for these huge problems, whether they be war, corporate greed, atomic anxiety, global warming anxiety, etc. So I think it could. It just depends on how it's done.
Yeah. I'm not sure it still works for its original intent. But.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think you can still use it with its original intent. It loses a little bit along the way because we are several decades removed from the events of Nagasaki, Hiroshima. And as someone who does believe that the use of the atomic bomb, at least on Hiroshima, I flip-flop on whether I think Nagasaki was a legitimate target. I think it needed to happen in Hiroshima. And I hate the fact that thousands of people died, tens of thousands. But looking at the metrics they were putting for an actual invasion of Japan, I think it made more sense to do that, to have this one event happen versus the actual invasion, where I think we were a million casualties is what we projected just on the American side of things. So God forbid the Japanese people, what that would have looked like. And casualties not being dead, I mean, like dead and wounded and so on and so forth. And someone can fact check me on those numbers. It's been a while since I looked that up. But I think if we're looking at that kind of power being used incorrectly, Godzilla stands for that. Godzilla stands for anything being abused that could be used for a greater purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of nuclear disarmament.
Yeah,
I don't think we should have nuclear weapons. If we have international, disputes, we should just have more Olympic Games.
Yeah, TJ's favorite Superman film is The Quest for Peace.
Good movie.
And we definitely need to bring breakdancing back, and we need to make sure it's exclusively Australians.
Yeah. That's a wild story. Do we have time?
For those of you who don't know, the Olympics, this is the first time breakdancing ever showed up. And there is a woman who has a PhD in, I think it's like cultural like movements or something, decided to get into breakdancing, tried out for the Olympics, won, and did a really goofy job and got 0 points. I don't know. So, you want to add to that, TJ?
Do you know what? Yeah. So her name's Rachel Gunner.
Reagan,
right? Something like that. Yeah, that's her dance name, but her real name is Rachel Gunn something.
Oh, interesting. Because Ray Gunn.
Which is why her name's Ray Gunn. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But she is the head of the Australian breakdancing, whatever the authority of her Australian breakdancing is.
What
she is, and that is the group that the Olympics outsourced the breakdancing to for Australia. They did that for every country that participated. They outsourced the judging and the selection of the athletes to local authorities.
And she was the head of it
with her husband. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
If you haven't watched it,
all right, you guys have anything else?
Yeah, just watch it. YouTube it.
You guys have anything else you want to discuss before we wrap things up?
I still think her routine was a commentary on the unfairness of merit-based activities, but we'll see. I'm sure she's going to publish a paper on it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Wow. All right. So we talked about a bad political actor to start. Who is a good political actor, real or fictional, that we would want to discuss?
Godzilla.
Okay. Why is that?
I think he's just a great force for good. I'd vote for Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But is he a naturalized citizen?
Of Japan, yes.
That's right. Fair enough. Nick?
I'm going to go Gandalf. He is a diplomat. He organizes people to rally against evil. He's the closest thing that we have to, a near perfect political actor, if you will.
Oh, for real though? Like Tim Walz.
Ooh, Timmy Walz. Hey,
dude's awesome.
I do also
what a
enjoy
pick.
Tim Walz.
Save the campaign. Gandalf, totally totally behind that. Like, I mean, his word brought a lot of people to the original meeting for the fellowship to even happen in the first place. And then, of course, his machinations were Gondor and making sure the right people were on the throne at the end. Yeah, he's pretty political savvy guy. Appreciate that. My good person is actually probably going to be controversial in some way because he's the person who made the Sentinels in the X-Men comics, but that's Bolivar Trask. And my reason for that is not because he made the Sentinels, it's because of what he learned about mutants as a result of actually meeting them, talking with them, and realizing I have made a huge mistake judging these people based on what other people had to say and what reports had to say versus learning, they're actually just people like I am. And he, in the original comics, dies, sacrificing himself to destroy the Sentinel base, and is later brought back to life because this is comics, where he is heralded by very evil men as like one of the greatest killers of mutants because Sentinels have killed at that point over 16 million of them. And he is able to resist mind control and come back out and kills himself to stop the world from being overtaken by Sentinels again. So I would argue at the end of the day, he started off poorly, but he became a good political figure.
Killed a lot of mutants.
Well, that happened after he died.
That's
So,
a lot.
guys, it is. Well, maybe they shouldn't have been there. No, we're not talking about that. Guys, thank you for listening today. We had a lot of fun. We love doing these what if episodes. We love doing a primarily political series as well. Let us know what you think. If there's something you would have us do, if you have opinions on how that South Park episode should have gone, how are we going to know if you don't let us know? Those tell us in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, if you're on your podcast listening there app. Just leave us a 5-star review on your podcasting platform of choice. Also, as well, reach out to us at systematicgeekology@gmail.com for new episode ideas you'd like us to do, and send our questions for the Q&A we're eventually going to be doing with as many hosts as possible. We'd love to have your questions, answer them along the way. So thank you very much. And we want to thank some supporters as well: Aaron Hardy, Daniel Sigmund, Trip Fuller, and James Barrett. You guys are the best. We really appreciate what you do for helping support the show. You keep the lights on. But remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
Consider subscribing on YouTube, where you can get some other stuff. You get exclusive series like our comic book catch-up, Manga Mustard, Drinks with Tejas, and a companion series we do each year to go with our annual theme. You also get access to Friday Night Frights and Wednesday Night Weeaboo and Spidey Swing-Bys with Christian Ashley. You get access to other exclusive shorts, like what I'm going to be doing soon are non-canon, where I'm going to be reviewing different IPs that are outside of canon from our favorite fandoms or the Bible and discussing whether or not it should be canon. You also can get a short of Will's Wednesday pull list. So if you're into comic books, Will goes through his favorites of each week's pull list for himself. You also get other bonuses over there. Most of our surprise content we'll put straight to YouTube going live over there that you can check out. And a lot of our regular episodes are also posted on YouTube if you just want to see our smiling faces.
Hey friends, this is your pal, Will Rose, and I have some exciting news. Systematic Geekology will return to Theology Beer Camp this year, October 17th through the 19th in Denver, Colorado. And we hope that you can join us. We are a part of Theology Beer Camp in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, at my home church in my hometown. And that year, Theology Beer Camp was called the God Pods. And then we were in Missouri, a part of the Geek Stage. Yes, we had a whole entire Geek Stage where we had workshops and speakers and had incredible conversations. And Theology Beer Camp last year was called the God Pods Strike Back. So you kind of see where this is going. And so this year, the theme is the return of the God Pods. And so if you head over to Eventbrite and follow God Pods 2024, or hop over to Instagram, follow it there. And if you enter promo code Geekshire, you see what we did there? Yeah. Wilbo Baggins approves. If you enter Geekshire, all caps, no spaces, you'll get $25 off your ticket price. Geekshire, all caps, no spaces, Geekshire. Yeah, say it with me, Geekshire. Enter that. You get money off your ticket, and you can join us and hang out and drink beer and have great food. And even if you don't drink beer, you can have incredible food and beverages and conversations with your favorite hosts here at Systematic Geekology. The Geek Stage is growing. I'm proud of that, and we thank Trip for this opportunity. We hope to see you at Theology Beer Camp, the return of the God Pods 2024.